Call the meeting to order. Scituate Council on Aging Board of Directors. I'm at 5:34 on Thursday, June 9th. Welcome all. I'll do a quick round of introductions just around the meeting room here. I'm J.E. Miller, Board Chair. My left, my left.
Vice Chair Susan Drevich Kelly.
Leslie James, board member. Dawn Powell is liaison for South Shore Elder Services.
Lillian Cruz, Transportation Coordinator.
Elaine Shabari, liaison for Friends of Scituate Seniors.
Reed Pickard, board member. Steve Dwyer, board member. Pat Collins, board member.
Linda Hayes, Director of the Senior Center.
Welcome all. So we were not here in May, so we have April meetings. Want to take a quick look at the meeting minutes from April 14th. I know it felt like a long time ago when I looked at them earlier today, but we'll take a quick look, and if anybody has anything that comes to mind that needs to be changed, we'll make a note. Did we confirm Marie?
I will, yes.
Yes.
I have a question, Joan. At that meeting, you gave the booklet that they gave out. You also gave, was that the meeting that you also gave the one that has all the stats for each town? Yeah. Okay, I didn't include that, but that was a good, I didn't put it in the minutes. That was very data rich.
This pack?
No, not that one, the one that has each town. That one doesn't have a lot of each town. There was one that you gave out once that had each town's stats. Okay. It was a long time ago, and I waited too long.
So it wasn't April or it was April?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I have a question. It says that I reported that there was a cultural grant to help subsidize a two-person play.
I saw that. I think maybe that was the
There was no
Julie
grant.
and it wasn't a grant, right?
No, it was
It
all
was just
cost.
funded by FOSS.
It was totally funded by
Would you like
cost.
to make a change?
Pardon?
Would you like to make a, I think you need to make a motion for a change.
I don't know if I can do that as liaison, but
So reports that FOSS is subsidizing or paying for a two-person play.
They did,
they did. It's over and done with, but
Yes.
yeah.
So I move that we correct the minutes.
Okay, and I will correct them.
You will do it?
Yep,
And you want a second?
but they, clearly they just arranged and funded.
They did an awesome job.
Yes. I'll make that go.
Any other edits? Do I hear a motion to approve the April minutes as amended?
I move to approve the April minutes as amended.
Second.
Very good, thank you.
So,
So why don't we go, well, we'll follow our agenda. We're
Following
gonna go
the
right
agenda.
to Lillian, who was all ready to roll in May and we didn't meet. So Lillian, we welcome you as always.
Thank you.
Take over.
All righty. I thought we could start with just a regular board report. And glad to see everyone. I think when I first came, I was just brand new here, so now I'm kind of like settled in, which is nice.
your sheets.
Yep. So, the ridership, now that things are kind of through COVID, our ridership is picking up, which is good. We have some additional regular riders that we've added in April and in May. We went from 50 average clients. We were like at 48, 50 every month, now we're about 68. So that's good, those are brand new. We had a 32% increase over the last 6 months in our ridership. And also, when we were averaging before 60 to 80 out-of-town medical rides, we had 135 out-of-town medical rides for April and 144 in May. So that trend is continuing because right now in June, we're at June 9th, we have over 100 out-of-town medical rides on the books for June. So, and that's a combined total with using South Shore Community Action, we're still using them, as well as our drivers.
Can I just ask a question, Lily,
Sure.
before you go on? So what do
Yeah.
you, what do you attribute
Yeah.
the increase in the uses? Is it that?
Seasonal and warm weather, or is it?
Yeah, I think because everything's opening up now again, like there was a time when a lot of medical appointments were canceled with
Yeah.
COVID, and now everybody's like really booked up. And then also usually any kind of services for the elderly, even when I worked in home care, like I know a lot of appointments were made for physical therapy or elective surgeries in like the spring, summer. So it's gonna go down a little bit in the winter anyway. And a lot of people don't wanna leave their house to go to elective procedures and whatever.
Is there any like new transportation options that you're offering that may be
That,
improving? Or
yes.
just like basic overall knowledge by the
Well, I
community
think it's
that
the-
this is something
I
that?
think it's the knowledge, I think that more people now know about the transportation, I think maybe the way that it's being organized, which we're gonna go into, because I did roll out a lot of new initiatives, so I'm trying to make it more senior friendly, so that I'm sure is helping, but the ridership will always go up in the spring, summer, down a little bit in the winter time.
But we do have new people who are now realizing we provide transportation.
Exactly.
That's what I'm
Frankly,
saying.
it's
Yeah.
surprising,
Yeah.
but many have
Yeah,
come
me
and not
too.
knowing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And then we'll talk about that as I go into more
Like your
about,
initiatives.
yeah, the initiatives, because that's also part of it, as well, so, okay. And then, our drivers are continuing with their compliance training, which is kind of difficult because everything was closed and you have to do it online, and we have some drivers that really, they're not good with computers, but they're plugging along. So right now, they're like 75% completed with all their compliance training, which is good.
We have 4?
We have 5 now,
5.
and we added Debbie Young, drove like a little bit during the COVID, and now she's back like a regular basis. She's been doing like 2 days a week for us, which is great because Joe actually is on a little hiatus, just a trip for like 6 weeks for the summer, so she's kind of like filling in. But
So
she's
is the
gonna
5
stay on.
include Debbie, or will it go
Includes
up?
Debbie, and she's gonna stay on even when Joe comes back.
Mhm.
She does mostly local rides.
She's been a good addition, and we got her because she
Yes.
was driving for the schools, and so we had looked last summer
Exactly.
to see who might be interested. But
Yeah.
we know her too.
And is that about the right number, 5? Like,
5 is
Are we
really-
still short?
No,
Or
I
is
think
it okay?
5 right now is a good number.
Good,
And we're very fortunate that we have 5 drivers because a
Yeah.
lot of the COAs do not.
right.
And we have 3 vans. I mean, we're pretty
Yeah, if you
pretty
go
good
on-
shape, yes.
I mean, Lillian's managed because we have 5 drivers, but some still are only on a certain day or
Exactly.
days,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
we still have to schedule.
Yeah, we still send out to South Shore Community Action Council as well. It's not as high as what it used to be. We were sending out maybe like 60, 70%. Now, it depends. During the compliance training, it was a little higher, but it might be like 40%.
That's great.
Yeah,
Because I know, if you go on the MCO website, it's like almost every, like half
Oh,
of
they're
the
all looking
CO
for-
days, half of them I have
For driving.
job
Yeah.
ads for
Yeah.
drivers. They're
Yes.
all
Yeah.
desperate for drivers.
South Shore Community Action, who we contract with, is very short as well. So I've been trying to work with them because there's certain times of the day they don't have any drivers. So I'm trying to advocate for our clients to get their ride, but say, if you schedule between this time frame, you'll have a better chance of getting a ride with them. and then it kind of helps them out as well. But yeah, we definitely need drivers, you know, everybody needs
Yeah.
drivers, but we're in good shape right now.
How is the gas
I was
price
just
on
gonna,
the
gas is outrageous.
How is that impacting the whole
The
thing?
gas is really high. It is really high right now. Yeah.
That results in a,
Well, we're using more of the budget,
Yeah.
I don't think we're in danger of, you know, just the way things have gone this year and last year, you know, the budget for GATRA was pretty good, so I don't think we're in trouble.
Yeah.
They probably
But
have a
we're using
surplus
more
for
of
this
it, of
COVID,
course.
I would think.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, right, there's,
Yeah,
It
so they could
definitely
sort of
is
check
higher
with-
because I do the GATRA report, but what I am doing more of is, because I hate to send an out-of-town van with one passenger on
Right.
it, is now there could be 2 to 3 passengers going the same way. So I'm trying to organize it better, that would makes more sense.
More efficient.
More efficient, exactly.
Great.
So that's basically, if anybody have any questions. No? So that, don't get scared when you see this outline, I swear I could get through it pretty fast.
Take as
So-
much time as you need.
Like Linda said, I completed, I am attending UMass Boston right now for my master's in gerontology.
Awesome.
However, before I started that, Linda actually found a program when I was very new here that was a professional development, and the name of it is Organizing and Managing Senior Transportation Options. So she thought we might be interested in taking it. I've worked a long time in the aging field and done a lot of scheduling and organizing programs and even helping to create programs, but I've never done the transportation part of it. So it really was very interesting. It talks about the senior transportation needs and the different challenges and options, how to create a program. A lot of it was on volunteer driver program, which I thought in the beginning, and you'll see why, I was going to Linda saying maybe we need to add some volunteers because our program, even though we have the 3 vans and we have the drivers, not everyone can really access those vans. There are some limitations to it. And me coming from a human services background, we like to get rid of barriers and help as many people as we can. So I was thinking, well, maybe that. But then going through the program and really learning about the liability and risk management of it, it really is a big undertaking to add that level onto transportation. You know, you're talking a whole training, like our drivers have, maybe other insurance, and, you know, it's a lot of work. I'm a 35-hour-a-week employee, so do I have the time to do that? No. You know, but, I mean, it is important for senior transportation, and we give medical rides, you know, life-sustaining, such as dialysis, cancer treatment, and also, it talked a lot in the class about the social engagement part. We know how happy everyone is when they can get a ride in, come to lunch, you know, see their friends. So really, the transportation is more than just medical rides, it's keeping people active in the community, and it's beneficial for their overall health and wellness. And so the 2 people who created the program, Helen Kirshner and Nina Silverstein, they actually created the transportation professional development program and this book as well.
Wow.
So they're you know, it's really a good program. So they have worked also with seniors for a long time, and they wrote, I think I gave everyone, there's like a commentary in here that you have from the Journal of Gerontology and Geriatric Research that basically talks about how transportation is so important to the overall health, wellness, and, you know, keeping seniors connected in the community.
Right, because they feel like they're not homebound, that they can get out.
Right, I mean, sure, they get exercise when they come out in the van, they keep their social connections, and so it mentions in the commentary the top 5 destinations for seniors that use the transportation: doctor's offices, physical therapy, dialysis, pharmacies, and cancer services. And I can tell you the 135 and 144 rides that I said were out of town, most of those rides encompass all of those 5 things. So they definitely are correct, with it. But, so like I said, I wanted to bring something back to the senior center. We had a final project, which was just a short PowerPoint that we had to do for the end of class. We could pick any subject in transportation that we wanted. A lot of people kind of used programs that were already, they had worked on. I wanted to do something that we hadn't done here. And so what I learned in the class was, I gave everybody a copy of it. I learned about this little tool for assessing your transportation. It's called a Senior Friendliness Calculator. And so I thought, oh, did you get one?
No.
It's on
Oh,
the
It's on the
back
back of
side.
oh, it's on the back, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Mine is not front to back because I just get
Okay.
confused doing that, so I
No
have different
problem. I
colors
do too.
inside.
My
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Two-sided.
Yeah, so the senior friendly transportation scale was something that I learned about. We've all heard about senior friendly communities, so this is applying to transportation for seniors. There's the 5 A's: availability, acceptability, accessibility, adaptability, and affordability. And so this is a tool that you can use, to see where you can improve. So what I did was, back in February, and you all should have a February copy, is I filled it in, and how I did it, because I was, still fairly new, was I
Oh,
took,
right, okay.
yeah, you have the February one.
So it was done
You
in
can see-
February?
Okay, I
Yeah,
see
right
it,
here.
yeah.
You can see a lot of no's on there, right? We had a lot of no's. I took just so you know how I got the data,
Right.
this is the pamphlet that we hand out to everyone that rides the van. So it has like our rules and whatnot on it. Okay, so I used this, and also I had been training people down because for instance, if you go under general anesthesia, unless you have someone to escort you,
Right.
you can't get on the van, because the driver's there to drive, and that's it. If you can't step up onto the van, then you can't get on the van unless you're in a wheelchair. Well, some people are not in a wheelchair yet, but they have arthritic knees. So while I was taking the class and I was getting people that I turned away, I started to write out these little cards. Because again, human service background, we like case studies. Go ahead.
Well, so I guess,
Yeah,
so your February snapshot,
yes.
we weren't bad, right? 21, getting close?
No,
No, that
no.
was current, the February one is 14.
The February one,
14.
yeah.
I took
I'm
the
looking
back.
That's why I don't do front to
I'm
back.
I'm not
That's why I
really
don't
looking
do
at it.
two-sided, because I get confused.
No, there's two
Yeah,
sides,
there's
so
two,
it's
yeah.
on the back side of these.
Yes.
Current.
One says current, one says February.
All I've got is the
Do you
Okay,
have
yeah.
this one
All
here?
I've got is the
Do you
current.
have that picture right here?
It's on the back of the do's
Yeah.
and
Okay,
don'ts.
so
That's the only
that's,
current. That- I
that's
got
the
the current.
current, and then the other one is on the back of do's and don'ts.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
okay, yeah, I
Okay.
apologize, that's why I
Oh,
don't,
okay.
No, you
Right.
that's why I don't like
So
the back.
February 22,
Yeah,
we were at
the same
14, and
paper.
now current is 21.
Yeah.
Right, but
Gotcha.
exactly, so for the February, 14 we have, but actually, I'm saying 13, I minus 1 point, I'll explain why. So if you look at availability, we don't provide rides anytime, okay, day, evening, weekend. There was a no to maintaining organizational relationships with human service agencies, we were not doing that. For acceptability, we really don't have easy access vehicles, because if you look at the vans or you try to climb up and you're a senior, they're not easy to access. We didn't provide demand response to scheduling, no narrow window of time. Sometimes people had to wait, okay, for that appointment. Accessibility, we didn't provide information about senior transportation to increase people's knowledge. No door through door, which would be, for instance, in my case studies, we had like a lot of people calling that get a common test when you're 50 and older, which is a colonoscopy. They
Yep.
put you under anesthesia,
But then you can't come on.
you can't come home.
Right,
Right? And they won't release you either because it's a liability.
right.
Door through door would be if they had someone to go in and get them and bring them to the van, that would be door through door, okay? In February, we were not providing that. So you can see a lot of no's, no transportation escorts, no policy of adapting this to the system to meet the needs of seniors. Basically, it is what it is, and that's it. No volunteer drivers we didn't use. I did, for the annual customer service survey, I deducted points just because I'm anal, and this is the survey that we had. And it's just basically, how would you rate all transportation services? Excellent, very good, fair. What destination would like to see, and do you have any comments or recommendations for improving service? And so I gave this a poor, that's why I took a point off.
And
Okay.
where is that on the survey?
I'm gonna hand this.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
in
it's
addition to
It's right here on
the
the
transportation services?
transportation service. It says, the last one, undertakes annual
Oh,
senior
okay.
customer service.
I see it, okay.
Yeah.
So you decided to make a note out of that?
Yeah, because yes, we have it, but it doesn't
It's
really
not
do
effective.
anything, like to tell us what the needs are. It's not, you know, are they having trouble accessing the van?
Right.
We have no idea. So that's why I did that. So anyway, so I used the tool, I used the case studies, I looked at the limitations that I was seeing. I even compared to all the other COAs. Now, 13 or 14 out of 25 is like in the middle, it's not horrible. Some of the COAs, I won't mention any name, they would get way lower than that, only because for like a local ride, they need 1 week advance notice, there's no exceptions, okay? So, that's a long time if you.
long lead time for.
Right, so if you need to run some local errands or go to the bank or whatever, you need to book it in advance, you know. And then they had very short times when they closed the transportation, so like we'll do rides between 8:30 and 4:30, but they might do it like 9 to 1 or to 2. So their window was smaller, so we certainly weren't the worst, but we definitely had room to improve.
And how many communities did you look at?
I looked at,
Without-
Hang
You
on.
could not name names. but how many?
okay, oh, I
3, 4,
named them.
5?
Yeah, I'm not telling you which one got lower, but I looked at the COAs in Hingham, Weymouth, Hull, Norwell, Cohasset, and then compared it to what we're doing. So ours actually did a little bit better.
It's in the outline, the
Yeah,
first page.
yeah, it's in the outline.
Okay.
So with that information, what basically I wanted to work on was some initiatives in order to make our senior friendliness score come up higher, okay? So I went to Linda, the first thing is because we already talked about volunteer drivers, too much liability. But what if we had some companions or escorts on the van that we could use? And so Linda said, that's fine, you know, go for it. Then it really was a team effort to get that going. Jessica Soupy, who is the volunteer coordinator, helped me to recruit some volunteers. Right now, we have 4 for the van.
That's awesome.
And then
That's great.
if you look in your packet,
My
We
feeling would be
changed-
that's hard to come by a lot of
Yeah.
places.
the volunteer application, she
Oh, I
actually put a change in, so now we have transportation van volunteer, because people fill out the volunteer application, they come first through Jess. If Jess thinks someone would be appropriate, they show interest, then they come to me, and then I interview them, and then if we say it's a go, Jess does the pouring, so that's how we've done it, okay?
Do you think that you should add, I'm sorry for interrupting,
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
just on this here, where you're not looking for volunteers to drive the vans,
No,
do you think it should be something like a transportation escort?
yes, and I did
Add
state
that
that,
word.
we're in the, she's in the process of like redoing the form.
Yeah.
But I did bring point that out,
Yeah,
yes.
that would be
Yeah.
good, because that might be less daunting for people if they thought they were just gonna be an
Yeah,
escort
because
to the
before
person.
it said, transportation in town and out of town, but it looks like you have to drive.
Right,
And so I said, take that off, because we don't want them driving,
Right.
you know. And then, once we had people, then also, Evan Lamont worked with Bob Clark from the town to get this liability waiver. And even our clients, when they go on the van, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I was
Yeah,
we use the liability waiver in all kinds of ways.
Okay,
We've
yeah.
had it, it was just maybe we thought we should expand it.
Oh, they
Bob had
expanded
some
it, okay.
information that
oh, all right, thank you,
You might have wanted added.
okay. So we have this,
Does everybody that uses services with this out?
Well, not necessarily.
the
But
waiver,
You have a form that's capturing data. Could that be a good place to put emergency contact?
what do you mean?
Well, we asked for the emergency contact in the new member form, so to speak.
Yeah.
and on
Because-
this volunteer
This is
application also.
Yeah,
And we could do it here if they weren't in the system.
Well, it is
already.
actually there, it says emergency contact on the.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the
On the volunteer,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we asked for it on the new member, if someone's signing up to be placed in
Yeah,
the
if you're
system.
signing
And
up
some
for a
people who
card.
are already there, we don't have that, or we have to ask them for it. It comes up. Try to update, but any form, yes, I'm not sure how often we're giving this out.
so this is the waiver actually our clients sign and give back before they can ride on the van. So we thought it would be appropriate if there's a volunteer that they also do that. And so that will help mitigate any liability. And then also they get this do's and don'ts of volunteering on the van, which I go over with them and have them sign as well to mitigate liability. We don't want them lifting anything heavy. They're not allowed to touch wheelchairs or any walking devices or anything like that. You know, the drivers are in charge of the van. If they were on a van with someone and there was a medical emergency, they let the drivers know they're trained in CPR and AED, then they can radio me and let me know, and we can call, you know. So it's kind of a hands-off, you're just walking with the person or sitting beside them.
And no tips.
No tips. I know, because
I saw
the
that.
elderly are always saying to the
Oh,
drivers,
here,
"Oh,
honey."
come on,
It
just
took
stick it
the
in your
longest
pocket."
time to stop
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And I know they're gonna do it with their
There you
helpers
go.
as well. I know that they're gonna try to do that, so.
So you said they would radio you, is it just a cell phone, or is there a radio in the
I have
van that the companion
Yeah,
has?
they have a radio and I
Okay.
have it. Oh, the
Gotcha.
driver has it.
Okay,
The driver is in charge of the van, so I make that clear to them,
okay.
that they are in charge of the,
So if the
passengers.
companion escort cited some kind of a medical
That's what she
need,
said, that he would.
they're gonna just yell to
They're
the
gonna
driver,
tell
hey,
to
Exactly.
the driver.
radio, radio, gotcha.
right, and that's why no one is gonna release someone that was under anesthesia to just the driver, because you're driving.
Yeah.
So you're not looking to see
Yeah.
if they need someone for their safety, so now they have someone,
So,
so.
so somebody that's had anesthesia will be able to, if they have a volunteer?
If they have the colonoscopy, yes, because they put them under anesthesia, then you go to recovery.
Yeah.
And then now what the volunteer does is and we've done this already, walk in and say, I'm a volunteer with the COA, I'm here for
That's
so-and-so,
good to know.
walk them back onto the
Yeah,
van,
since we all have
sit with
that.
them, and then when they get back to their home, she or he will walk them to their door and make sure they're in safe. So, yeah.
Yep.
So they go in to extract them, which we've already used that.
You know, something like that seems like it could really work. If somebody worked in a
Yeah.
hospital,
Yeah.
they're having surgery, too many things can happen that they get bumped, and it might not work at all.
Yeah, so I really think of all the initiatives, that's probably, we've already used it 4 or 5 times. I think that we're gonna use it a lot. So that was
Well,
one,
that's huge, because some
Yeah.
people, don't have
You don't
somebody,
have someone
Right.
there.
they don't have someone to drive them.
Or,
Right.
because I mean, somebody's gotta take a day off from work to be able to get me back home.
yeah,
Others
we-
have been maybe for the eyes, that would be.
exactly, we
Yeah.
used it for the eyes.
Cataracts
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, we had like, I have a couple of case studies, we had like a lady, 57-year-old vision impaired, that actually, she has a assisted device to walk with a stick, but someone delivered a package outside her building, and she knows how many steps it is to get to where the van is, but she fell over the package.
Oh.
So now we actually assign someone to be on the van when she's on. So, yeah, we've been using it actually quite a bit, so I think that definitely helped. The other thing is for the access, we have a lot of people with arthritis that, like I said, they have a cane, they might have a walker, they don't have a wheelchair, they don't wanna use a wheelchair regularly, but they can't walk up the steps. So, actually Linda helped me secure from a Trustco a wheelchair, so now we have it on the van. The lift, they could go up and down the lift
Oh, wow,
safely,
that's
so now
great.
they can access whereas before they couldn't, so that helped increase our score on accessibility.
Wow.
Also providing the escort, that increased our score as well. The other thing that I've done is coordinate services with the care managers, so I can pull up statistics of where our clients are going. Brigham and Women's, the VA hospitals, Dana-Farber in Weymouth and in Boston, the dialysis center, Fresenius, Harvard Medical, South Shore Endoscopy, that's where they do the colonoscopies. We have clients who go to some of these places, multiple visits a month. Some of them have dialysis 2 or 3 times a week. And did you get it?
No,
I'm on my-
I'm going
I'm
through so
reading-
many papers and I
Yeah,
can't
I'm
follow
just
what you're
reading
doing.
One
from
here,
my talking point. I haven't actually,
Thank you.
yeah, there's nothing, it's just my talking point.
Yeah.
So I'm just explaining one of the other initiatives, I'm sorry. Right.
Thank you.
That's why I said,
That's why I
see,
think
mine is not front to back, because I would get lost too, JD. So I'm just going through my talking points and trying not to take up too much time, but, basically, I contacted the care managers and said that we have our clients going in multiple visits. Yeah.
Can you just turn the fan on?
Yeah. I know.
It'll be mine.
Years come right up.
Oh, you're right,
So I reached out to these medical places where we have clients who go several times a month for cancer treatments, dialysis, whatnot, and said to the care managers, because the clients are overwhelmed, they're our sickest clients, contact me by phone, here's my email, I will book their schedule a month ahead. And so that's what we do. So now it's easier for the clients, I just call them the day before and remind them, they don't have to worry about keeping all these appointments. We also now offer on-demand local ride services, no advance notice. It's a first come, first served basis, but basically I earmarked, this one driver is earmarked who drives a COA van as you are the local driver for the day. So if someone calls, and we often get it like on a Friday and says, I didn't get to go on the shopping trips, but I really need milk and eggs, my dog needs dog food, can I do a special shopping trip locally? Yes, we'll take you.
That's
If
awesome.
someone calls and says, I need to get to the bank and the post office, I'd like to, these are real calls, and maybe pick up some lunch at Maria's, and can I get a Dunkin' Donuts? Because I never get to Dunkin' Donuts. Yes, they can book the
So,
van.
do you have anyone on the van that could do my grocery shopping
Yeah.
for me?
The seniors now call
One did
the,
bring me back orange
yeah,
juice.
they call the COA van, the shuttle bus. They'll say, can you send the shuttle bus to me? Because they're so used to now that you can call, I tell them, this is the community's van,
That's awesome.
no
If we
2-day
have
wait.
resources to do day of, that's awesome.
Exactly, I'm like, it's crazy to me to give a 2-day notice. If I wanna go get a coffee, or I need to run an errand, I'm gonna get my coffee.
Just to get, and sometimes people just need to get out of the house.
Exactly, exactly,
I'm sure we've all
Yeah.
had that. We can hop in our car or walk out our door.
exactly. So that's what, another initiative to make it more senior friendly. I also created now a one-stop, transportation resources. So we mentioned earlier the senior Charlie card. So if someone says, do you know about the senior Charlie card? Yes, I do. Do you know what the MBTA schedule is? Yes, I do. Do you know what the sleep schedule is? Yep, it's right here. Do you know of any private drivers? Yes, I do. This ride match, someone called a social worker and said, my client who wants to get out to a baseball game on the weekend, there's really no parking, you need someone to drop them off, pick them up.
Well,
We don't do it, but if you go on this Ride Match, it's a database of people all over all over the South Shore, any community that give low-cost rides or free rides to people who need it. And they put their name in, you type it into the database, and you find them a ride. So these are resources that I have, so now the clients can
where's that based out of?
This is people all over Massachusetts, so it's a database.
Okay.
So you just put in what day you need to ride, where you're going, and then it does a search,
Wow.
and it will find people that give rides. Some of
So
them-
is it less expensive than, let's say, doing an Uber or Lyft or something? like
That I don't know, it's just a resource that they can use, and
That's
so,
great. So basically, you consolidated or organized like a central place for all these resources.
yes, they can call me, exactly. So instead of trying to figure out on their own what the resources are, they can say, I know, I don't need like your van, or I have something on the weekend, or I'm going to a wedding. Do you know of any other services? So I have private services in here, volunteer services in here. If you need to know this, people call me all the time, what's the sloop schedule? Here it is, do you know about the Green Bush? When is the train coming on a Saturday?
Right,
I'll look
weekend,
at-
holidays,
Yeah, weekend,
weekdays.
holiday, I'm like,
Right.
this is the transportation resources, let's make it easy, we're the one-stop shop, so.
That's great.
So anyway, so basically, those are the initiatives that I've done, and then finally, the new transportation survey, okay, which I'll hand this around. So this is the new one that's based on the senior-friendly transportation
Can you pass
model.
around the old one? That's maybe so-
There's 15 questions on here that track different aspects, like how is the ease of getting on and off the van? Are you using it for medical rides or for local? Would having an escort benefit you? We don't promise an escort, that's the other thing, like I will not put in the newsletter, we will provide an escort because we don't know if we can, they're volunteers. But if you need one, I can say, let me see what I can do, you know, so.
But you can put in the newsletter for transportation questions and call William.
Exactly, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that's definitely in there. So basically, this is, it's a better survey because it's based on the senior-friendly scale. So now, we rolled this out in May. These are the ones that have come back right now that I'm in the process of putting in like a database. And we're gonna continue it in June, but they're in-house on the counter, they're on every van. People can really fill them out at any time. This is to track how the community, what their needs are basically going forward.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
we did all of that.
Any good feedback preliminarily?
Very good. Several people did say that having the companion escort in the van was helpful for them. They have a new ride, which is the market basket. Everybody loves the market basket.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah,
I heard about that, yeah.
the market basket, yeah.
Ladies
So,
talk about.
yeah, they do love that. And we try to have a volunteer go along with them because we do have 2 people who take that ride who are vision impaired. And so the volunteer does help a lot. They've always liked the drivers. Our drivers are super friendly. The vans are always clean. So, that's, always got good feedback on that. But this will be our new survey now that we can
Awesome.
use. So then just quickly, considerations for future transportation plans. The largest growth in the senior population is 85 and older. People outlive their ability to drive safely by 7 to 10 years. 7 years for women, 10 for men. By 2035, seniors will outnumber children the first time in history, and I gave everyone the article on that. So, and we're seeing an uprise of Alzheimer's and dementia clients riding on the van. We are seeing that. So the greatest risk factor for dementia is age. So since everyone's getting older, I'm not surprised. So I really want to stay ahead of the best of the curve with the best practices. So I'm thinking in the future, maybe adding to the training, the dementia-friendly driver training. And also, I would love to see, and I haven't talked to Linda about this yet, but it's just a future thought. maybe limited access, I just had someone call me today, limited access on a Saturday for appointments, like medical, because we do have people who get dialysis on a Saturday, they get MRIs and X-rays on a Saturday, and lab services, and need to go to the pharmacy. So I have had requests for that, but I said, we don't have it yet, I'm not promising, but we'll see maybe in the future.
Do we have any local pharmacies that will do their deliveries too?
CVS.
They will, okay.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
CVS will.
North Scituate Pharmacy has always done delivery.
But CVS
Yeah.
definitely offers
That's what I
delivery
tell them,
services.
you can pay for that. It's probably cheaper for the van, which is probably why they're
Okay.
calling.
I didn't think of, yeah.
But we did, I mean, the seniors are very happy with the transportation. We see an increase with the ridership, and we did increase the score now to a 20, so that's, you know, pretty good.
Awesome. So Lillian, when are you writing a book?
About
So
what?
your dementia folks, do they
Yeah.
need to have volunteers all the time?
If they go shopping, definitely they need a volunteer. And we do have one volunteer who's willing to actually go in the store with people. They haven't really done the shopping. To come into the senior center, like we have one coming in tomorrow because her husband will be at work, so she's coming in for lunch. And then I suggested to him that she stay for the movie. We're gonna try it. You know who it is. We're gonna
Because-
try it.
Honestly, that particular demographic,
Yeah,
is it really eligible, so to speak?
yeah,
As an independent rider,
Yeah,
unless we can do
exactly.
something else.
And
And we
yeah.
are making some exceptions already, just even
Yeah.
in the building for people we know.
exactly.
That isn't really according to policy and takes
Yeah.
a little more
Yeah,
management.
it's a
Well, that sort of leads
I mean,
into the
she-
So it
daycare
is an
program.
issue, which
Yeah.
we'll get to, you know what I mean?
She's oriented enough to know that's why she's getting on the van, that she's coming to lunch. But what I do is I do go meet her at the door and kind of walk her down. Sometimes after the lunch, she'll go to the desk and say, I don't think I have a ride home, because she doesn't remember, and they just come and tell me that she's ready for her ride. So she will get to a point where she wouldn't be eligible without someone, because, you know, that's just the progression of the disease, but we're trying to keep her active and coming, you know, with a little bit of help,
That's helpful.
as long as we can, you know.
Well, I mean, just to that point, I mean, I have 2 people in my peer support group that have that issue.
Yeah,
And so
Yes.
I make sure that they get down to the dining
Yeah.
room and
Mhm.
make sure that they get
Get seated practically.
seated, and then, you know, I always, everybody in the group knows, so they
Yeah,
help them,
that's what we
and then we make
Yeah.
sure that they get to their, whoever's picking them up. It
Yeah.
it doesn't
We have a
take-
lot of that. We
Yeah,
have a lot
it
of
doesn't
that.
take a lot, but it's just that little extra. So that, I mean, that's where like a daycare program would be
Yeah.
a beautiful
I'm
thing.
talking
Yeah.
about that.
yeah,
And if you're,
yeah, I'm done.
so I will just maybe jump, and this is included in my report, but since Lillian is here now, I did just want to mention a couple of things. So she has completed her certificate program in the transportation services, which was great, I think really valuable. I'm glad she was willing to do that. She was probably the star of her class, because then she was interested maybe in going on, but in fact was invited into a select program for the masters because of her performance in the certificate
Wow.
program. And so she is now in the gerontology master's program for specifically management of aging services, so very proud and pleased that
And is
she.
that on site or is it?
Thank you. They do it all online now.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
all
lovely.
online, Yes,
That
which is
helps.
great.
But in addition, actually, it's worth mentioning, you know, I mean, she is on top of things, as you can see, but there was a client, and she was responsible for communicating the proper, well, really, I probably should ask you to talk about it, but he was having a health issue on the van with social elder services, I think it was.
Social community action.
Community
Oh,
action, that
yeah,
was it.
oh my
And she
goodness.
probably saved his life when she told them what they should do with this client,
Yeah.
what was wrong with this client, just by being on the phone with them. So, and he feels
Yeah,
the same
he
way.
did. Yeah, he actually, he was fine on getting on the van. Now, I checked afterwards with his girlfriend who helped her in the van and the driver, and he was a little quiet, but he was fine. and they wheeled him into, I don't wanna mention a medical place, but they wheeled him in for an appointment, and then I got a call from the nurse screaming at me about the condition our driver dropped him off in, and I said, what do you mean? And she said, he's like incoherent, he's passed out in the waiting room. And I said, he's a diabetic, he might be having a medical emergency, to call 911. And she said, the doctor can't even speak to him to assess what's going on. And I said, I'm like yelling at this point, not yelling, but like getting like anxious and saying, call 911, he's having a medical emergency. She said, hold on, I'm gonna go talk to the doctor. So she puts me on hold, it gets worse. And then she comes back on like 3-4 minutes later, she says, we're just gonna, she was saying, your driver needs to come and pick him up. I said, no, we're not putting him on the van, you're saying he's passed out. So I'm radioing the driver and I'm saying, Juan, don't pick him up. He goes, I'm outside right now. I go, no, we're not bringing him home. They need to call 911. So finally she says, all right, we'll call 911. And they send him over. And then I called his girlfriend that he lives with the next day, and I said, oh my goodness, I was so worried about him. I'm telling him to call 911, and I'm thinking, it's the blood sugar. And she said, oh no, you gotta talk to him and find out what, it was worse than that. Give him a call. And I call him, and he's in the hospital, and he sounds like he's on death's door. And I'm telling him the story, and he goes, I was trying to communicate with them, but I couldn't, and they weren't doing anything. And I was like, I was like out of it. And I said, what happened? Was it your blood sugar? And he goes, no, you don't know the half of it. He said, I had a heart attack. I'm like, what?
Wow.
He goes, I had a heart attack in there. And I
In the
said,
waiting room.
so I said to him, I was telling them, call 911, call 911, call 911. I was so
Well,
like
scary,
disgusted.
this was a cardiac doctor.
This was a cardiac doctor.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
They thought, I think in looking at him, because the way he dresses and that, he's low income, I think they thought that he was like on drugs or something. They just completely wrote him off as, oh, he's just on drugs or whatever.
I would love to
And
know
they,
what the doctor
exactly.
is.
I actually called, Linda said you should call and tell him, and they really weren't apologetic, and they kept making excuses and saying, well, vans drop people off all the time in this condition. And I said, passed out? And they're like, oh, well, you'd be surprised. And I go, no, listen, everybody is different. He's not like that. I kept saying, there's something going on. He's not like that. He was coherent. I talked to him an hour ago. I had to tell him like 4 or 5 times. And so anyway,
Well, she was that persistent and that
Yeah.
really knowledgeable. and,
Yeah.
uh,
yeah, because I am a nursing assistant, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's phenomenal.
Her many
Yeah.
talents, and I will go on to say, which I just think is worth mentioning at this point, that she's also filling a new volunteer capacity here that benefits us and the clients we serve, but as the Alzheimer's Association's support group facilitator. So now we have specific to Alzheimer's a support group for 6 weeks, which will
That's
continue
awesome.
afterwards
Yeah.
twice a month, and Lillian is facilitating in that capacity, which is very nice.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It's an Alzheimer's support group. Lillian is going to be leading it.
Yes, but it has started already, it's gone
Yeah,
3 or
it
4
has.
weeks already, but then.
Did you have a lot of
Yeah, a lot of people.
people?
We have 8 people, 7 to 8 come regularly, but we are gonna open it up again, because like once it starts, you have to go to the Alzheimer's Association and register. They closed the registration, but they're gonna reopen it in July. So I do know of another 1 or 2 people that would like to come, so we should be like around 10.
Is for Scituate only?
No, you can live anywhere, if somebody comes from Weymouth, so, yeah.
So it's the caretaker?
It's a caregiver support. Now, for-
Specific to Alzheimer's,
yeah,
because we
specific.
do have another
Yeah.
caregiver support.
Right.
group
Yeah,
that
like a
Wilson's-
Parkinson's.
This is
So this
specific
is
to
just for the
Alzheimer's.
support people, not the patient?
Not the
Right.
patient.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
That is very
The
good.
caregiver,
Those
yes.
are very good.
yeah, just for the
Yeah.
caregivers.
No, it seems necessary and very,
Yeah.
anyway, kudos to Lillian,
Awesome.
Yeah.
6 months into the job.
Yeah, I mean,
We're
you were
lucky
so
to have her.
enthused the first time you came, like looking for ways to cut,
Right.
and then just grabbing this opportunity and running with it. You did a great job.
We
Got
have a
lucky.
couple more jobs for you to take on. If you could just write up these notes.
Does anybody have any questions for Lillian? Any additional questions? That's awesome, great stuff you got going on.
Thank you.
All set? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you're doing.
You're doing a great job.
You can stay if you want, or you can have.
Yeah, I'll stay.
Okay.
And so now we'll
Oh,
move,
so now we can't talk about you.
You
now,
can.
now we'll move to Linda.
Oh, it's all good.
I may mention her again. All right, well, in brief, really, my report. It's been a rough month. I've been a little bit in and out, just sick days here and there, and but some things have been accomplished still. The centenarian proclamation presentation that we did do already on April 23rd was for Dorothy Bates Gammon. She had her son, I think son, nephew, anyway, family threw a party at the Harbor Community Building. So Karen Conley, as a representative of the select board, and myself went. It was actually quite pleasant, and she was very appreciative of that. Now, we are still waiting, they got lost in the mail, for the engraved entries for the plaque downstairs over the cane, the Boston Post cane.
Right.
So I had said I would like to have her come to lunch as well, and she was very excited about that idea because she really hasn't been here. But I also now think, because we have so many, we have 6 centenarians this year, 2022.
Wow.
That maybe we should have a lunch for all of them if they're able. And so far, so between Dorothy, we have one that we're going to see, Kathleen Fay, next week, I think June 17th, that we're going to visit her at her home. August 7th, we have another party to go to for Ann Callis, whose family is throwing her a party at, again, the Scituate Harbor Community Building. So we're going to that. Erin will come with me. We have one at the select board, and I think it's Karen Conley still, she likes it. It's wonderful, which I've mentioned before. Then we have another in November and 2 in December. So I haven't met them yet or heard back from them. Normally we send a letter out, and I think we sent it to everybody. But their names will be on the plaques, and I think maybe it might be nice in August, let's say, to have a lunch for all 6. Just to invite them to the lunch and sort of celebrate them as a group. Because it's quite a class. And we're wondering where the men are. We've got to look to 100, JD, because we just don't have any men.
That's very nice to acknowledge that.
Right, it is. Yeah, that's very fun.
If you invite them, would you invite like a family member?
Sure, I mean, whatever they need, absolutely. It would depend, I suppose, but yeah, absolutely. That would be nice too. So that's just a little update there. Parking monitoring, the plan, honestly, it did finally get to the planning department, but then it had to wait a week because Karen had been on vacation when she got it, unfortunately. Long story short, we'll be presenting to the planning board either June 23rd or July 14th, which, now we're entering summer, it's a little inconvenient. But that's right now the plan, and I don't know which will be the one. It could be the 23rd, which is fine. What will that do? I don't know. That's simply to discuss the report by the traffic engineers. They actually came after even submitting the report, but some of my subjective comments, especially when we have Art for Your Mind, for instance. And I mean, we do know, yes, we're allowing 75 people to come, realizing that we only have 70 spaces and many of them are occupied otherwise, but still, that's what the program, that's what the program demands. So we don't want to turn people away. We do know there's extra parking, as you know, behind the A-wing and in front of the recreation department. So we know it's there, and I think we can accommodate that, but those Wednesdays are crazy, because we do have a couple of other programs, and then there's, the little overlap, trying to get people in for lunch.
Yeah.
Bob Jackman's class, which has always taken on the maximum for our classroom, 28 to 30 people, but there were more that wanted to come, and he doesn't want to turn them away, nor do we. We tried the big room, but that really didn't suit him, so he agreed to doing a morning session and an afternoon, and frankly, within the last couple of months, the morning session is filled, almost, do you know what I mean? So now that's more cars. We have a couple of exercise classes, you know what I mean? It's not like we're filling every room, we're just doing what we're supposed to do. So we have certainly tried to spread things out, but that's what we'll talk about. Certainly Tuesday mornings where they saw the spike has a lot to do with the food pantry, and we can't deny that. Because really, it's not our busiest day. So they came out to observe a Tuesday, and I told them, it's not our busiest day, it's not our busiest lunch, But it does become busy because of the food
Traffic
pantry,
calm.
cars, volunteer cars, so there is no overflow really available except for the rec department. Anyway, that's that status. We are working on our next newsletter, which is for July and August, with 16 pages, so
What
to
is the
fill.
deadline for that?
Probably tomorrow. I mean, now is the deadline, but if you have something, we can talk. I don't think we're submitting it tomorrow. We'd like to finish it more or less Friday, Monday. It is due tomorrow.
Remember what the income from that goes
Income from the ad, well, we didn't get the income.
No,
It's
it goes
liturgical
to,
publication.
it goes to the printer, so this is free. So it doesn't cost the senior center. The church, it's the same company that does it for all the churches.
Yeah,
So the churches don't pay, like St. Mary's doesn't have to pay for the bulletin, but that's why they're always looking for more advertisers.
Because St. Mary's has tons of
The only reason I know is
advertisers.
'cause I used to be an
Yes.
advertiser.
Now, they told us they were losing money on us for a while, and that's partly,
Yeah. That's why
partly
they
that
say
is why.
support our advertisers.
Paper printing, collating,
Yeah.
mailing.
Be an
to. It's that
advertiser.
organization that goes looking for the ads.
It is. Now, in the beginning, that felt wrong, that we would give them advertisers, but we've loosened up, and honestly, if we know people that might want to advertise, usually their representative comes, and we've come to know her, she's been with the company for a while. And, they'll ask for whether we have recommendations or references, or categories of what's in Scituate or nearby that might, fit the bill for advertising to our customers. And we help a little.
are the rates the same as they are for the, St. Mary's? Because I remember looking into St. Mary's one time for an ad I wanted to run.
Yeah, I did it when I was in, it's expensive.
Yeah,
I'm
I
told
did it
it's
when I lived in
expensive,
North
I don't.
Attleboro.
it's
I
pricey.
advertised in St. Mary's in North Attleboro,
Oh,
and it's
It is, it's
wicked,
expensive.
it is
I couldn't believe it.
expensive. And then you have to look at, for a small, like,
Investment.
you have a sole proprietor or consultant or whatever, I mean, for some of the large companies, I mean,
Right.
Cardigan, it's like, no.
yeah,
I mean, not for everybody.
no, but it's expensive, it is.
If you're an individual, it is.
But it's nice, and so we do hope people patronize, or at least learn more about people who advertise. and
There's a
look at
space
it.
right here,
It is
Marie, for
work.
you.
I saw that. And I do want to use it.
Anyway, we're excited about that, of course, it's taking a little longer to do that. We think we'll put the menu on there to start in some of our policy changes, and, just to jump ahead. Lunch policy, it seems to be working. We are,
Yeah, it's better.
it's better, it's smoother, less no-shows, or we can fill the seats easily because we're maintaining enough of a wait list. We're also, the numbers, I mean, even for today, it's more like 48 to 50 potentially on a regular basis.
Still
There's no
sneaking
check.
up from 45.
Can I just ask a question? So the first thing says 2 days ahead, then it says only 2 weeks in
Right.
advance.
So-
What does that mean?
At least, well, you know what, up to 2 days ahead, I mean, maybe that's an old policy, but in other words,
You can't come in the day.
you don't come in the day of and
Yeah.
Say I
say,
want lunch.
Oh,
No, so you can't be a walk-in. But
Right.
you could theoretically call 2 days ahead and say, hey, can I get into
Yes.
the lunch?
Yeah.
we would ask maybe, and it's silly to say this, don't call the day before, but you can, I mean, we put you
Just
on
in
a wait
case,
list, but
right.
it's not ideal for us. We'd rather have it, we wanna give them the number ahead of time, that was the initial reason for this part of the policy, at least 2 days ahead. Now, people know the system who come in all the time and may be here every day, and frankly, if they say to the front desk, can I have lunch today? It could be that we've received cancellations and they're playing the system. But we wanna fill the seats,
And
so
when
we
you
don't
have
turn them away and say
something-
no.
Yeah,
Why not? Why
It's
not?
sold out like 2
Yeah.
weeks ahead by noontime.
yeah.
And it is, but we do tell people, hey, the wait list works, and very
Yeah.
often you will not be disappointed. I mean, if you really wanna come, we will let you know. And we'll let you know. Ideally, we don't wanna be calling at 10 or 11 a.m., but that's sometimes when we're told people aren't coming. The 2 weeks, only 2 weeks in advance, they have adapted to that. I think it's worked very well. Jill
Oh, in
puts
other
it-
words, that they can't call for 4 weeks ahead.
Right.
No.
We only make it live, so to speak, literally 2 weeks from the day, and people
So it just
know.
rolls every day.
Call at
It's
night,
2
you know,
weeks.
we
They
get a
call
lot of
by
phone calls.
noontime, it's sold out.
It is, it gets
Does it
quick.
sell out the same day? Is it?
Thursday night.
Thursdays, fish day, it does. I know.
By noontime.
I heard two guys talking, saying, "You can't believe it, sold out, shrimp scampi."
So that's it, and all, you know, we just asked, don't send up 5 of your friends, we limit it to 2. These are just, you know, the things that have come up, and maybe only 2 dates at a time, not the whole week if they're holding up the front desk with their request. So that's why some of those. Now, the cafe has been a little bit, you know, hard to decide how to handle, but we are finally testing at least that the window and lunches can be sold at 10:30 in the morning. That does accommodate the exercise group patrons who might come early and want that lunch, because they know when they come out at 11:30, they'll be gone. We hope it accommodates as long as people know about it, those who are just coming in to buy the lunch, if they know it's 10:30.
Is the lunch at the cafe, the lunch to go different than the lunch that's in the?
Well, Friday, it's only on Friday.
Oh, this is for Friday only,
on
oh,
Fridays.
okay.
If I didn't
Cafe
say that,
lunch is
No,
only Friday.
okay, I get it, so this is the Friday deal, okay.
so because there's no congregate sit-down lunch, but there is often food, and sometimes Fred knows enough to make a little extra of what he's putting out, because he knows it will sell, and people, it's, I mean, I envisioned having the window do to-go options even while we did the congregate. That really is not possible. The bandwidth for the kitchen is not possible. And we're more concerned with filling the dining room as much as we can.
So the lunches to go are mostly sandwiches and things like that?
Well, no, it's leftovers from what we produced during the
Oh.
week, unless Fred has something else that, you know. I mean, maybe he did, or what could I say, maybe he did a pork tenderloin and then could make pulled pork, but he doesn't really usually do that.
Yeah.
Quiche, he can make extra. Lasagna or pasta, he might have extra.
So the
Soup, he
bags
always
of
has
labels and things
extra.
like that?
Mhm.
So the bags of labor, do you choose them or how's that go?
There's a volunteer in the kitchen only who they've packaged in to-go containers.
But in other words, what Maria's saying, do you
How
get
do you
a
know what's
choice,
in
or
it?
is it like,
Yeah.
this is what the lunch to
Oh,
go
this is what the lunch is, and
what-
sometimes we'll be
Yeah.
able to put it on the board.
Oh,
You
okay,
know.
so it's one item.
Tomorrow it is
sometimes it's
leek
2.
potato soup,
Right.
which he's got lots of, and I believe it is quiche. So they
With either
packaged it up
potato
beforehand,
salad.
and it might be coleslaw with the quiche, or it might be potato salad with the quiche, and then you might have a choice.
Can I just ask a question, which is getting back up to the
Sure.
parking thing?
Oh.
I noticed, which I didn't want to stop the flow, but I noticed when I pulled in that now, like, the 4 spaces, there are like 4
Oh, that's
spaces.
brand new.
I know, because I went to go zip into one of the spaces, and it was like,
Well,
reserved for seniors.
well, okay, it's a
That's a
friendly
great idea.
sign, I hope, and
Yeah, no,
obviously
it
you
is.
know that right now that doesn't necessarily have to
Oh,
be,
Well, I followed the rule, but
observed.
the
Where's the
point
sign?
is
I
that
didn't
you
see the sign.
actually
Believe me,
add,
that's my
Right here?
favorite
Parking
space.
spaces.
Right here?
yeah, there's 4, like, across from,
The
yeah,
food pantry.
Okay.
yeah.
And there's some across from the entrance.
Right across from the entrance, so you added like handicap.
They're not handicapped official, they're really hopefully just reminding
Age-friendly.
patrons that there are others who might
I think it's a
need
great
the
idea.
space close to the
Yeah.
building wall.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea, I was really happy to see it,
I mean,
even
and
though
me and Kevin has them printed,
I didn't
and
get to
I guess they get the point across, or they will, I hope. It's really a suggestion or a request on our part that people that don't need the space,
Yeah.
leave it for somebody with more.
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
Mobility issues.
Until we get more actual parking spaces, if that does go through, then hopefully this will.
That should have been done a long time ago, by other places too, because you see all these reserved for women with young child.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Shopping market.
It's saying there are some
And it's true.
seniors.
And also, there was a suggestion that, well, I hadn't really thought of, even though I've seen the people driving too fast. And believe me, there probably are some of our seniors driving too fast through the parking lot, but oftentimes it's coming when they drive from the food pantry and they're just driving through. People need to realize there are walkers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the spaces simply require walking through the parking lot to get to the entrance, so we want to put up a couple of 5-mile-an-hour signs, just as a
Good
reminder.
idea.
So that seems normal too. But yes,
Okay, sorry for interrupting
no,
the
no,
flow.
not at all, that's good, that's good. Oh, well, I completed, as well as now Cam in the kitchen, and Ian Vignani, who's certainly a very good volunteer for us. So we all did the food certification training and got ServSafe certified.
Great.
So that's helpful, and that's important to have at least one person on the premises, so Fridays when Fred's here, you know, it's nice that Ian is normally the volunteer on hand. If we do have any events that people are using the kitchen, then it's good if I'm here or volunteer, or can. So that's good, that lasts for 2 or 3 years actually. I have still been involved in GATRA, hiring a new executive director, so it's only involved a few meetings of late. And we have, I believe they're giving her the offer letter and the employment contract, now that we've approved it. So we did approve somebody, it's a woman, to take over, and she's very nice. We had, if I didn't mention this last
You
meeting,
did.
and I may have,
It's okay.
a large donation,
It's a nice
so it's a
donation.
repeat, sorry. But I went to the select board to have that approved and accepted, which of course naturally is very exciting. But we did discuss the use of the funds potentially for beginning the social day program, which, you know, I did need funding for. So they liked the idea, they were concerned a little bit with whether or not that would sustain the program, but I think any grant I might find we would have to, we would not know if we would
Monies.
continue to get it. So this is a good start, and I think something that we can provide funding for if this runs out. By the same token, if, once I figure out what we need for the first year or two for the social day program, the idea, and Lillian mentioned it briefly, but even the paragraph that I included from her is obviously, it would increase ridership. And, you know, we used to have a much more nominal, almost donation only request for riding the van, and then GATRA really imposed some required fees, because they charge us those fees. I mean, those are charged back to the budget. So every rider that is charged $1.75 per ride, $3.50 for a round trip, we pay that. I mean, we have to pay that to GATRA. So if we could somehow subsidize with monies and either cut that in half or provide free transportation, I think that would be nice, and we could confine it just to local. So, you know, those rides are short, minimal, I mean, with the exception of what the gas is costing. So that's a thought, and not one that I necessarily brought up there, but I guess we could put that in a proposal and start to look at that. So that's another way that funding. And I know from the original donation from this woman's trust that she really was interested in helping, knowing that it was helping seniors directly. So in the first place, that's why we put it in the transportation fund, because we were buying the new van and were responsible for 20% of that new van initially. So that's where some of the money was going to go. In the end, we didn't need to use it for that, so that's why I think we could grab some of that money and use it for reducing the cost of the rides, if not making them free. And then thirdly, even the select board did wonder if we could do something, you know, physically permanent to acknowledge the donation from the woman and put something in her name. So we would be thinking about it, looking at that, which I haven't really come up with. There is the notion that we need some kind of a garage or shed for stuff.
For the golf cart.
For the well, really for the golf cart, that is true. For some of the other yard cleaning or snow removal equipment that really Kevin has no place to put, and we do need it. So that's another
Wait,
idea.
you can't put anything in the building next door?
No, we do have some of what we call attic stock next door, so we do have a room with some of our leftover. Yes, they do, but,
Just thinking of things to do with that building.
yeah. The storage building, yes. There's a big shed for you.
Yeah.
Do you,
And-
do
Oh,
you
is
have
it?
any background in the regulars or something?
You know, honestly, going back 2-3 years ago when the original smaller $20,000 donation was made by Mara McMahon, who people are familiar with, and she was a caretaker for this woman and then became the executor of this trust. So
But she left it
I
to
didn't
the
really have, in
seniors?
other words, I didn't know her. She may at one time have been familiar to the senior center before me, which was 2014, 2013.
Mhm.
So Mara did take care of her, and
Yeah.
that was as much as I really knew.
Uh-huh.
So it went back some, I don't know how old, she was in her 80s, I believe, when she passed away.
It might make a nice little piece on her newsletter.
Sure,
You know, I could
sure.
interview someone.
We
for
could
that
try to
someday.
get Mara to step up and talk to you about that. Very nice, yeah, thank you. And lastly, there's been no movement yet on creation of the garden beds, but those were approved or accepted by the select board as well. We do have the friends who, Elaine may mention it, you know, they're donating a tree. We had already purchased benches in Betty Johnson's name, that we wanted to use with the tree or to create some sort of little spot, meditative spot that would, you know, in her memory. So that's coming, and I should still go to the select board to let them know about that, because there'll be digging involved, so, and that'll be near the bocce court. Building use policy, I actually have copies for you if you'd like. So I went to the select board twice, I went back the second time with some suggestions they had made. And then it's still, you know, scheduled events needed to end by 9 unless approved by the select board for extension. So in other words, imposed on us really by the planning board, you know, at the inception of the building, by request of the abutters, was that we would be done by 9 for anything that was here. Now really, they've also added language that says vacated even the parking lot by 9. So, you know, we've had events, and I've been careful, events have ended or people have walked out by 9 o'clock, the doors have been locked. We know people could linger talking in the parking lot, they haven't really, so I don't think that's been an issue, but this is what they're asking and what is now in the document. Unless they go to the select board and ask to have an extension to 10 p.m., they could certainly ask for 11, I don't know how that would go over, but 10 at least is in the document, and if so, if they've received that, you know, that permission, then it would be, for instance, entertainment would have to end a half hour before, alcohol use would have to end a half hour before, so that cleanup is really happening and people are walking out the door by 9. So that's a stipulation and something that would need to be managed either by the user, of course, or by the management. Outdoor entertainment, even for us, does require a permit, so we are planning something and we just need to do that, but anyone would have to do that needed to use the outdoor for music. All uses involving food or alcohol must select from pre-approved list of caterers, so yes, well, that's in there, and that was always in there, but it's really just a must. That's who they have to use. That's been approved by the town, and frankly, we'll know the kitchen, but even that's still in flux a little bit because we're afraid to give too much freedom to using the kitchen, so I'm trying to add some language that might, you know, either restrict that, limit it, or let us know what in fact they're asking for, and then say yes or no. So whether it's prep only or prep and warming, using the ovens, but that's the extent of it, you know, hopefully not really the stovetop a lot, I think that. And really, the select board finally said, you know, we're just not ready to say yes yet because we are a little bit afraid of what we have to field for requests for private use. And do we want, I mean, I've had a request now for a birthday party, which is a good case in point. So I will take the sheet that you can look at, which is the application form, and really apply that to this request and see how that feels and how, whether we think we can accommodate that, what kind of numbers they're talking about for birthday party. I mean, we could get requests for weddings, we could get requests for showers, we could get requests for retirement parties.
It could be a weekend, right?
It could be a weekend, and then we don't really have staff,
Right.
what's, you know, what really can we reasonably field, so. It's, you start talking about it and it feels like, oh, whoa, I'm not sure we can do this with the resources we
And
have.
there has to be a staff person here.
Someone has to be, whether, how many, you know, myself, maybe a staff
Kevin.
person, but you know.
Or like the.
No, it would be a volunteer, it would be a person maybe on the tax workout program that I could assign to that building monitor supervision, or maybe just a volunteer that wants to do it.
I think I was thinking about this randomly at some point. What if we created a team that was responsible for any permitted use of the building? And that team would be the town's supervisors and engineers here.
Yeah, St. Mary's is doing something like that for the use of their rooms, because
Okay.
they're realizing that there could be issues, so they want
Yeah,
someone
but they're,
trained.
but we,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what was determined, I'm still in the notes from the meeting, but it's like, they're not gonna allow any alcohol.
I know they're being much more restrictive than they have in the past.
Yeah.
So that would,
The parish, after the
Except for parish
But the
activities.
point is still,
They have to have, they want to have somebody there.
Which has always been the Wild West in that kitchen, and I know that, I've been in there, you know, I mean, people know what they're doing, but still, it's had a lot of use, and we don't want that kind of wear and tear, they definitely get wear and tear on that kitchen.
So we're not having the St. Patrick's Day World Dinner for St. Mary's here.
Well, but we do have the Rotary Club Pancake Breakfast coming up, and, you know, last year it was the first thing we did, it was
Yeah.
lovely, but it was, you know, a little unwieldy, and, you know, there was a lot of work to that, the veterans lunch, the same thing.
Veterans Lunch.
But we did, it was well managed, and the person in the kitchen was the proper
Yeah, well,
restaurant
he-
person.
Yeah, he owns the restaurant.
and was well acquainted, we made sure they were well acquainted, the policeman's lunch, same thing. So, again, and those were all things that we want to have here, that are community driven, if not associated with the town, and, you know, we wanna be able to provide that for them. But for everybody, I don't know, and for people that we don't really have a lot of control over unless it's in the document, so again, I guess I have to go back, but I am meeting with Jim, the town administrator, just to maybe answer some questions and to see really how far.
But it'd also be, like you said, I mean, the only way you're really gonna know is if you start trying a few things
Yeah.
and see what works.
Yeah.
So if anyone's
Problems.
interested, you can take the document and review it, this is what so far has been edited and, you know, not necessarily approved, but reviewed by the select board. I was also asked to make edits if I agreed with them, so to speak, that the abutter had provided. And, you know, for the most part, they were details that provided them with some assurances, so I was happy to make the edit. So those are in there, and I might have even bolded them because they're new since the meeting, but,
10 years ago, we went before the select board to reserve the community building, that, when they were renting it out for private parties. It was like one of the last ones, but they got out of it because they didn't want to be in that.
But there are private parties there, I've
Yeah,
seen like
they're-
graduation parties, shut.
I mean, that's the place to go really, and the fact that it's empty and, you know, tables can be set up,
What? They cleaned it up.
cake, water view, which, you know, pleases a lot of people.
I ran the.
They're not concerned about the wear and tear.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a lot of,
There's a lot of
community members, you're talking, yeah.
private,
Yeah.
Me too.
people use it.
I work out there on Sunday, and a lot of times they're either coming in or they're taking away stuff out.
Absolutely. So it works, but pretty soon the assumption is that's kind of going away. Maybe it isn't because some people do want a rental venue. They do want that. The Maritime Center does serve that purpose as well. A lot, if you go on and look at the calendar, it could be filled every weekend, it could, and more. But it's small
Small,
and no kitchen.
Yeah.
So, anyway. that's-
great view.
That's that for us. So any comments, suggestions, please feel free to email me directly if you have some thoughts on the document, that would be fine. And I may be seeing them again on the 28th.
it's good to take your time.
You know, it is, as it turns out, it's too important a resource, and maybe after this first year, we have tested things out, and they're supportive of what I've been doing for the kinds of groups that I've wanted to accommodate. You know, it's been good. So that I can continue to do what I've been doing at my discretion, and then the private is what's really causing us
So
questions.
what groups, since we've just opened brand new,
Mhm.
what groups have actually used it for their bid function?
I do have a sheet that
Oh.
I did give those select board, if I can remember it, I've named a few already.
That there was
The veterans and,
the
Yeah, the
veterans.
veterans.
I mean, those are all affiliated. The garden club had a great event, the Rotary Club,
The
because we
sister-
really worked, I think, in conjunction with them to provide the evening programs that they were putting on. It was special, it was nice, and a lot of our people came
The
at
Irish,
night.
the Irish community.
Right, luncheon.
Oh, the Sister City has been
Sister
meeting
City.
here anyway, and they've been allowed to have not only meetings, but then maybe a larger meeting where they could Zoom and talk with the people in Ireland. The Sister City, French Sister City Committee was the last thing, and it was lovely, but it was a lot of work that we did agree to do for them, but it was a lot. It was lovely, couldn't have been better.
But
Point
Pancake-
Trustco had their Christmas luncheon, which they just had catered from Roach Brothers. I mean, it was really not a hard thing for me to give them that room for an hour and a half,
Right.
which was very nice. And there might have been others.
And then there was that Scituate schools, right, that had the art exhibit or the art reception.
Well, that was really for us as well. I mean, we invited them to do that and they
Yeah.
agreed. So that was something that really benefited us as well, and they did a lot of work for that, so that was nice. We have had the superintendent use the big room downstairs for
Yeah.
a few
Meetings,
meetings, forums.
community meetings, right.
So I have a better list if you want it.
Yeah.
That's off the top of my head. Some programs, so we've added something called Joyful Movement recently to the exercise program schedule that people are loving. It's sort of dance in your chair, maybe there's some standing. It's just nice movement, and they love the instructor, who's very good at getting
It's already full for the month. It's already full for the month.
It's already full
Really?
for the
So
month.
is it like chair, it's not chair yoga, but
It's
it's
not.
chair dance?
It's chair movement, dance, very dance oriented.
Cool.
She's a dancer, has a background, and they love her. We also added some coffee and community segments or, additions Thursday mornings. If someone's asked, Richardson Gaffey wanted people to become more aware of what they do. Instead of having a talk that 3 people come to,
Mhm.
it's, if they get in the habit of knowing they're here the first Thursday and they're bringing donuts, it's been very nice for us, and get familiar with them, that's all they want. So that was the idea. We had some real estate representatives who did the same. We always have Lou Rizzo, who represents Patrick O'Connor. I mean, so the Thursday mornings can become sort of the go-to for some people who are
Thursday?
interested. Maybe, we had Obadiah come on a Thursday morning and we simply advertised that he would be here as the comfort dog. Some people might want to see him. Didn't get a lot of traffic, but again, I think we'll have the social worker and Erin featured, in one of the weeks upcoming in the summer, so that kind of thing. If anyone has ideas for that, that's a new, just a new.
Where is that being held?
In the cafe for the most part. If they need a room, we can move them into the mine at dining room or the Egypt room if there was
Okay.
something more to they wanted to talk or distribute material a little bit.
Not to, I hate to ask this, but was there supposed to be the calf in the dining room?
The cafe is where the fireplace is
Oh,
and where
I
people
see.
can sit, but there's also the cafe tables. And it's got some open space that people can work around. If we need more tables, we can set them up. But the Egypt room is the bigger half of the multipurpose room. And the dining room is called the minor room, when it's divided. So the round tables are always set up in the minor room unless, we had something to take them down. What else?
The art appreciation,
Art for your mind,
art for your mind. What is the name of the instructor for that, Jill?
Jill Sanford.
That was a wonderful thing.
Well, Sue Schreiber was in the audience. She was there to experience the hour for the Patriot Ledger article that she writes, A Good Age, and she wanted to talk to Jill about that, but
She was such an excellent
she is
speaker.
excellent.
And it just grabs you. When I first got in there, my sister had asked me to go with her, because she loves art. I'm not that much into art, but, so I thought, well, maybe it's about Egypt, and you're gonna see all these.
Oh,
And then when I saw the first thing, which was some sort of
Yeah.
bas relief
yeah.
on a
Early.
flat piece of, I'm like, oh no, this was the beginning of it. This is gonna be a long hour. And it was phenomenal. She just grabs you immediately, and I had no interest really in that. But then she told us so many different stories
She
about
does. She makes it very interesting
and
and
not
accessible.
one, for an entire.
Exactly, no, she,
I told her that afterwards. She goes, well, I'm going
She
to
gets
not
that
do
all
any
the time.
tennis balls. But it's true.
she's fabulous.
She just seemed like she was so thrilled with what she was telling us. That's what made it interesting.
Very good. I'm glad
She's
to
like
hear
that.
She is. And I mean, we
Well, well,
consistently get 65 people. There were 62 yesterday, which was a little
That's a
surprising.
good turnout.
65, 75 last month in May was Ansel Adams, and I did miss that, but just
And the
saying.
next one coming up is somebody, a New England painter,
Well, they're
right?
gonna love him. It is, I don't know who it is, shoot, I forget right now. We have the full list downstairs somewhere, but it is someone that will be, will be. So, yeah, we're very happy to have that, it's funded, that's why it's free, we do pay her, so.
How many people come on site transportation
For what?
for the art for the mine?
Not for the art for the mind, no.
So everybody parks.
Yeah.
Okay, trail walking has been popular, I'll just mention that because it's ending this week with the spit, and they're shuttling people to the spit so that they can walk down and check it out. But then it's going to end for the summer because of ticks, and it's just not an ideal time to be in the woods. I will mention that, and hopefully you all received your invitation by email, the Volunteer Appreciation Celebration on June 23rd at 4 p.m. So if by any chance you haven't responded, we would like that, but hopefully you have and you're coming. We would like to know.
Yeah. 23rd, you said, that's in-
We are including this summer, we've talked about lifelong learning, and although this is still not officially formal, a couple of courses, a 6-week and a 4-week that would fall into that category. So we have a young woman who's a high school English teacher, AP English teacher at Scituate High School, doing a course on reading and writing short stories. We feel like there's been interest in writing, and maybe combining that with some literature short stories that she can have them discuss and then apply to maybe some of the writing that they might like to do. So that's 6 weeks over the summer. And we'll charge for that so that we can pay her. And then also Kathy Clarkson's husband, John, who is retired but has always worked in areas of government and what's the department he has worked for? I can't recall it right now at this moment. But anyway, he's very well versed in climate change and had all the information really to present a series on it. So it's a 4-week series on climate change in Massachusetts, and he'll try really to talk about Scituate where he can, but overall I think it'll be interesting as a bigger topic that obviously everybody's concerned about. So that one I'm not sure what the cost will be, if there will be one. But really happy to have him doing that. Because soon they're moving to Utah.
What's the instructor's name?
John Clarkson. And then we have some interest from other people that we'll get to in the fall. Yes, he's been doing some work with the Director of Planning and Development as well as a intern, so to speak. So he's busy. The big bus trips, my God, they're all, if you've heard about them, they are, literally all filled through December.
Wow.
There are wait lists for some, and there is the potential that the wait list can be called because we are sharing with 3 other councils on aging, and it could very well be that our people more enthusiastic than theirs, so some of them might not fill their seats, and then they'll put them up and we can grab them if so, which I think did happen for the what's it called,
You just said that.
the Encore.
Encore, yeah.
Casino trip, which is coming up in June, so that was popular, and there's many more beyond that, but, glad to do it. It's a nice service, it is a lot of work, but it's nice the way they've done this with the sharing among the senior centers who take on a little bit more of the burden, but rotate. Oh, we are trying to develop, we thought that we had, what I wanna call it, an offer to do bingo, and you know what? Some people love it, and why not? It's a nice game and it's a fun activity, so we're gonna try to work it in after lunch, maybe one day a month, and along that theme, do perhaps a singo after lunch one day a month, and maybe a trivia after lunch one day a month. So Jess is working on that and starting something, at least the bingo this summer, and if we can throw in something else, we will. For our 4th of July celebration, which is just traditional, and we usually do try to do it as close to the 4th as we can, so we're doing it on June 30th, which is the Thursday.
June 29th,
Oh,
Yeah, June 20th.
right, that was my mistake in the newsletter. It is June 28th, pardon me. Right? Is that right?
No.
No, that's not right. I
It's the
said June
30th.
28th, which was a mistake, and it really is the 30th,
Yeah.
because our calendar was wrong. So, it is June 30th.
The Thursday.
For lunch,
Last
so
Thursday of the month.
naturally we do have to limit it, we can't serve, everyone. So right now we have 75 with a wait list, and we'll see if we can
Wow.
open it up. But we're doing burgers and dogs and trying to use the grill outside and then also the kitchen so that we can accommodate as many people as possible. And that's just it, it's just really barbecue with some games outside, and hopefully it's a good day. We are also planning, just to give you a little heads up, right now, we have booked a band called Billy and the Goats, who has a great lead guitar and singer in our chef.
Isn't that Fred?
So, that is Fred. So, September 2nd, we think it's a great idea, and hope maybe would like to be involved a little bit if we need some sort of volunteer support. Make it a kind of a community event, so not just a senior event per se. The music, I assume, will be outdoors. I will have to get the entertainment permit for that. Maybe make it a hot dog fest is what we were thinking, or at least just, we needed some sort of food, and hot dogs sounds fun and relatively easy, with maybe some kind of side, some beans perhaps. And then really it's about the music, so they'll do
Very
two 45-minute sets.
Very good.
So that's the beginning of everything, yeah.
September 2nd is what we're thinking of. It's
And
also
Labor Day.
first night, so we'll do 4 to 6. Hopefully that works out for the time. And then people can go downtown if they want. There may be other things happening that people do on First Friday around town at night. So, anyway, that's. And then with Erin's outreach report, she certainly has been, she has been providing services, and I will mention something that she was able to coordinate for us with the help of St. Mary's, so it's very worth mentioning St. Mary's. Through Deacon Matty, they have a men's group. He's called and asked if there was ever a need for what they could provide, and I used them one other time, but for this it was putting in air conditioners for the housing authorities. So Erin said 2 dates, did sign-ups, people signed up for one of the 2 dates that needed the service if they didn't have anyone else to do it. And the men's group came in happily and did what they could at multiple housing sites.
Awesome.
So that was completed, and everyone's very pleased with that, and I think he's pleased with being able to handle it, and I'm very grateful for that, in fact. Also, she has started the monthly visits to each of the housing authorities. I do feel it's been hard to get them here, not to say transportation-wise, we certainly could do it. They just haven't seemed to have the desire as much to come, so whether it's the programs aren't, what they're looking for, or they just don't feel comfortable yet, I don't know. So we're hoping that outreach to them will, increase some of our traffic. And also
It's just
provide Erin with some information that maybe she can
Right.
help them with.
some good help for
Yeah.
people when they come here. huh?
So those are the highlights, and you are welcome to look at all of that. But things, are pretty much the same, with the exception of maybe the lunch is going up. The programs that we have are all well enrolled. We can't complain about anything, we're not canceling anything, so, good. Questions? Linda?
Anybody have any questions for Linda? There's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Probably take
So all the bus trips are already booked?
Yep.
They're filled for the seats that we were given, and we have a wait list to see if they're open. There was a binder on the front desk, and people could look at it, take a flyer, and find out what it was about, and then sign up. With payment, they had to sign up with payment.
That's nice.
The turkey train.
I know. People love them, people love them.
Yeah, no.
Well, if no one has any other questions for Linda, I actually got a brief note from Karen Canfield, who's obviously not here, but she gave me a couple of bulleted items to make note of. Special town meeting is September 19th this year. He says it's primarily due to town vote required for the siting of the new water treatment plant and anticipated construction hurdles. Also on the warrant will be likely the proposed charter committee's recommended changes. Pier 44B's plans will be presented for town approval, and that would be for town approval during the annual town meeting, which would be following spring. She says the old Gates building is, the town is drafting a request for proposal to do something over there. Doesn't have a timeline, doesn't know what's going on there, but the town is trying to figure out how to initiate some activity, or some answers over there. And she just mentioned that the select board had reviewed the building policy, and
That they're still.
you already echoed,
reviewing.
echoed all of that sentiment, so that was from Karen. So, Joan Powers. Social other services.
Well, we've had two meetings, the South Shelby Services on May 3rd and June 7th. All is going very good, and I really appreciate the new building because they have so much more space, especially with the virus. They always give a financial report, and we have a new financial director and also a new financial assistant. And Roxanne is the new director, financial director, and she talked about her background and experiences and gave goals for the future of the department. Then there are several papers. One paper is your attention please for the home care professional need. So these are people that go into the home and do homemaking things in people's homes. And so they've had a hard time getting help. Just like in the nursing homes, they're very short of getting help. And in the southeast of Massachusetts alone has over 2,000 seniors and adults with disabilities have been deemed eligible for services, and our contracted providers are unable to find enough staff to serve them. South Shore is one of the lower ones, and they right now have 200 people that they're not able to serve yet. And it's mainly because they just don't have enough
Don't
help.
have the staff, yeah.
And they have given bonuses of $750 to all their workers at the South Shelby Services.
And I will step in and interject that really, and that's actually included as a note in Erin's report, is that it's really affecting the councils on aging, the senior centers. There is, there are people calling her all the time that she is trying to refer and use the normal or the usual protocol, and yet they can't be helped. And weeks, months go by, and now what do we do for these clients? It's really a difficult situation because they need to be helped, and virtually no one is doing it. No one is. So we're considering some options that maybe are unusual that we've never done before.
I came from a home care background, and we had a shortage prior to COVID, but then 2.5 million women left the workforce, a lot of them from the home care. Nobody really knows where they went, whether they went to private or other sectors, but that was one of the reasons I closed my home care agency, because it was small and other agencies were giving $750 bonuses, and I couldn't afford to do that. So I ended up closing, and a lot of smaller companies did close, so.
I think you said a lot of companies have closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been fortunate because they have that new building and they have plenty of space.
It must be frustrating for the case managers too.
Oh, yeah, they're really overworked.
Yeah.
You know, even in the nursing homes now, they don't have enough people.
No.
Well, my experience in the nursing home was that the CNAs did actually more work than the nurses.
Yeah.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
The annual meeting will be a lunch at Lombardo's in Randolph, as Montana, where they used to have it, was closed. And this will be the 45th year, and it will be a luncheon meeting. And Representative Bruce R.S. will be the keynote speaker and also the recipient of the Duncan Award they have each year, as he has done a lot for the elders in the community, including Representative Seniors' needs at the Joint Committee of Elder Affairs.
What's his name?
This is her.
Bruce Aarons.
Bruce Akers, A-Y-E-R-S.
Ayers.
Here it is.
Okay.
And they're not gonna have any event for the volunteer appreciation this year. What they're gonna do, they're gonna, I guess, have a frame thing with the workers at each Meals on Wheels site, all their volunteers, but they're not doing anything this year.
Okay.
And then we're having the community dinner, we start that again at St. Luke's, which will be June 26th at 5 o'clock. And we always get Doc Hammond.
Oh, you do get Doc
He
Hammond,
always comes to
interesting. All right, well, I'm
Well, I'm a
calling
good
her,
friend of
I'm
hers,
calling
I
her
really,
for lunch,
you know.
I have to. But I wanted the plaque to be up, I wanted her name to be up.
That's the volunteer appreciation.
No, that's.
No, what is
No,
happening on the
community-
twenty-sixth?
Just community dinners.
Just a
St.
community
Luke's.
dinner?
That's St. Luke's.
That's it.
All right, thank you, Joe. Elaine, going on with Foss?
We're starting back up, getting into full-blown mode. We started back with the Julia Child event, which was phenomenal, very well received and very entertaining. And we're now looking at multiple different types of events that we might be planning coming forward, starting in the later summer. Nothing definite yet, but we have multiple ideas that we're looking at. As Linda mentioned, we are working with Kennedy Country Gardens about the tree for
Betty.
Betty's, thank you, Betty
Love it.
Johnson Memorial. We picked out the tree and got, help me, I do not remember the type of tree, it's a flowering
It's a
tree.
yellow something,
A yellow what?
yellow wood, but it's pink, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was two different colors and I just, you know, so it's a flowering tree. Supposed to be very pretty, but we have not moved forward with that because Kennedy's landscaper has been super busy and he has to come over and view the site and determine what he has to do in order to make the patio. When we get that all put together and priced out, it comes back to Linda and she has to go to the select board.
Process,
It's not, I mean, the money's coming from
sure.
FOSS, but it still has to go.
It may not be in the
through this
ground until fall.
process. That's very possible.
I mean,
Hopefully.
planting seed, you don't want to plant it in the middle of summer.
Is that a good
Fall's a
time?
good
Anyway,
time.
Good
Good
time.
time.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
they
so-
must
I-
have it.
That's great.
That's a good time to plant.
Fall is
Yeah, it is,
good
it is,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Must be a good sized tree too, probably.
Pardon?
It's probably a good sized tree.
Yes, yes, yeah, it was a big tree, I mean, you
You
know.
should provide some shade where it's going, but not be overpowering. It's
That's
a little
great.
more petite than some trees might be, but I think it's.
You need trees. That's great.
So that's about all we're doing, nothing.
They'll be looking at a fundraiser, a fundraiser is what they want to do, and that's where,
Right.
the
That's a bit different
events
kinds of
they're
events.
considering would
Yeah.
provide, just because it's time.
Different kinds of things, what is it, the high tea,
Oh, yes.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
and kind of like a trivia night, but a combination trivia and historical, because we've lost our regular trivia person,
Sadly.
yeah.
Okay.
And some other types of events that they're looking at, so.
Okay, very good. Does anybody else have any other business to raise? Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting, since we're
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
at 7:16, 7:17. Very good.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you
all.
all.
Thank you all. Thank you, Lily.